Hey, coaches, wrapping up today's Football Scoop online clinic is North Jackson High School head coach Chandler Tygard, who's going to share his experience on how to create a work hard, play harder environment for today's teenagers. So, Coach Tygard, it's all you, man.
Man, thanks. I want to say thanks for having me. I listened to Coach Greasy's earlier today. He's a really good friend of mine. So just the fact that I'm on a Football Scoop clinic, which is, I've followed you guys for years, to be, I guess, selected to do that is a huge honor, and I really appreciate you guys. And then there's hundreds of clinics going on right now. And so the fact that anybody's going to take the time to watch this or to click on it later, I'm really honored just to be able to help any way I can. Here's my information. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Twitter or an email or any of this kind of stuff you guys want. I'm an open book. I'll help anybody however I can. I'm just very thankful for being here. So we'll get right into it. I got a bunch to get through. This is the most important thing when it comes to high school football, in my opinion, is under attack a little bit. The numbers are down across the country. I have worked at a bunch of different high schools, a bunch of different places. But for the fact that even numbers were down in our location, I'm in a small rural community now. That's a hardcore Friday Night Light football type environment. And for our numbers to be down, I think that says a lot about the country as a whole and how high school football is going. So everything we do as a team, as a culture, is to recruit, reach, and influence teenagers, 13 to 18-year-olds, and even some of our little league and our community members. So a lot of the stuff you're going to see is really different, especially if you're a old school philosophy guy. But everything we do, it goes back to not whether I like it or not necessarily. It's whether our teenagers like it. And if we can do stuff they like, it's going to get them out for football. We want to recruit our own hallways. We want to encourage people to attend our school. We want to, reach these kids, and we want to influence them to do the right things that all the same coaches are saying. Everybody wants good kids and good people. But if you can't influence these kids and reach them in a level that they understand, then you're kind of missing the boat or that opportunity, in my experience. So I've worked at a lot of different places. I've worked for 8 head coaches. I've won 14 games in a season. I've won 2 games in a season. I've seen a little bit of everything. Culture is a huge environment. It's culture's king. So some of the people I've worked for, I don't put this up here to say, oh man, he's worked for some, good people, Lane Kiffin or Philip Fulmer. What I do is I put this to show everybody that there's a lot of ways to do this. I've been for a lot of different coaches and learned a lot of different ways to do it. And it can be completely different and still work. Ron McKeefrey and Benny Wiley are 2 of the best strength coaches, in my opinion, in the entire country. And they have completely different cultures that go behind them. Derek Dooley and Lane Kiffin were total opposites when I worked for those guys. I learned more in one season under Lane Kiffin and Ed Orgeron and culture than I did in basically the entire majority of my career. I learned more in 1 year with him than I did with other people. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's really interesting how people do it. The first thing though is, before we get into the really fun stuff, is there is no shortcuts for hard work. We do a lot of stuff that's cool for teenagers. We do a lot of stuff that's different, but there is no shortcut. There's no supplement you can take. There's no magic pill. The majority of people in this world are going to be on the mountain of average. And we talk about this a lot. And to be on the elite side, you're going to have to do things differently. You're going to have to work at a certain level than the average program. This is nothing new or that groundbreaking, but it has to be first to where your team is going to work hard. And everybody says that, but just because we're doing all the fun stuff that you're going to see here a little bit later, it doesn't mean that we're working hard. I put my offensive line coach's favorite quote is that in elite teams, pride is formed through shared suffering. And this is a great book by Jocko Willink, the former Navy SEAL. We definitely make our kids go through shared suffering. Pride is one of our core values. And this is a picture of a giant hill we have down the road right next to the interstate that we make them run up with tall grass. And, it's a little crazy, and the kids think we're wild. And, we put them through hard environments on purpose. to get that shared suffering to increase the pride. So, but just because you're doing fun things, it doesn't mean there's a shortcut without hard work. In the off season, we have this thing called Chief Wars. I took this from another friend of mine. What we do is we break up into individual teams. So our off season, say our off season consists of 50 people. We're going to break up into 5-man teams. We bring the seniors over to my house. We cook them dinner. And then this picture on the left is the seniors decide captains for each one of their teams by playing Hungry Hungry Hippos this year. I've got a 4-year-old, so they busted out his game, and the winner of the game got to be the captain of the team. We draft teams like an NFL draft style organization. They draft their top 5 guys in order, and then there's a team of free agents for guys who aren't picked. You get points just for showing up every day. You get if your whole team shows up, you get bonus points. You get points for Competition Friday. We over here on the right, we're playing wiffle ball. We've played wiffle ball, medicine ball, dodgeball, or medicine ball, volleyball, dodgeball, basketball, any kind of sports, soccer, anything we can do on Fridays for Competition Friday, we change it up. And these are the teams that compete against each other. And so you've got linemen playing wiffle ball, and you've got little kids trying to catch medicine balls going over a volleyball net. And you assign a winner and a loser, and you give points. The cool part about the points is that's how we determine we give out gear. You've got to gain 400 points in the system to get a T-shirt. 1,000 points get you a sweatsuit. We don't give away all the gear for free. Everything's earned. We do the same thing with jersey numbers at the end of the year this year, which I'll get into a little later. But I could do a whole presentation on this. But if you're not doing off-season teams, if you can make the off-season fun for teenagers when they're working hard in the weight room and running and conditioning and doing speed work and all this, if you make that part fun in February, then they're definitely going to have fun come August. They're not going to quit, and it gets that kind of family environment going. So now here's culture. This is either the most overused buzzword or hype. This is a big topic nowadays. A lot of coaches are talking about it, but here's what it is to us. I stole a lot of this from Dr. Fergus Conley, so you guys need to look him up if you're into this kind of stuff in the book Game Changer. It's a big textbook. Basically, what it is at the bottom, underneath the water, okay, that's what the outside population cannot see. That's only if you're inside the organization, this is what you're going to see. So the first thing are beliefs, okay? Beliefs are kind of inherent. So the beliefs at Ravenwood High School in a wealthy area of Nashville, the core beliefs the beliefs of those kids inherently are going to be different than where I'm at now in Stevenson, Alabama, in a rural blue-collar town. That's kind of determined by the town, their parents, all those kind of things. You cannot really change the inherent beliefs of kids, just based on their socio-demographics and economics and all that stuff. Core values is something you can set. With our team, we actually sit our team down and decide what are our core values, what do we believe in on and off the field, and how is that going to shape our attitudes. Okay, so everything, your attitude and stuff is shaped by what do you believe in, and whether, people talk about core values all the time, but are they actually being demonstrated? Okay, and then that moves on to their attitudes. Okay, now, above the water, that is stuff that people see outside the organization. Okay. So if you walked into our field house, okay, or you walked into Google or Amazon, okay, you're going to see 2 things. You're going to see the behaviors of the employees and the people there, and you're going to see the artifacts, the stuff on the walls, the stuff in the building, how clean it is, how people are treating you, that kind of stuff. So that's what's seen by outside people. I've read that it takes 8 seconds to make a first impression. So when somebody walks into our field house, I want them to get a certain impression when they walk in. If not, Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney came to recruit one of our kids, I want them to understand as soon as I walk in, just by our artifacts and our behaviors and how people are treating them, that we run a first-class program and we're doing things the way they're supposed to be done. This is from Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO. Culture is what people say and do when you're not in the room. All right. You drive the culture every day, day in and day out, and hold everybody accountable. This is important. Don't sacrifice culture for short-term results. And every single thing you do in the program matters. From PJ Fleck. Everything is a big deal. these were our core values we came up this year. I'm not going to go through all these, but the kids came up with them. And so if they come up with, I want to be disciplined, coach, and we had a discipline problem last year, you want to redo your core values, or at least talk about them every single year. Last year we had some discipline issues. So, we're changing a culture here, and they said, coach, we want to be disciplined. So this summer, if there's something going on, and I can remind them, you said you wanted to be a disciplined team. You said you wanted to be tough. That's our core values, and that's what's going to shape our attitudes and our beliefs as we move forward. Behaviors. So this is what people can't see. So the picture on the left is when I first got here. We cleaned up the field house. You'll see the giant pile of trash behind the lockers, and just how everything was kind of treated in this building. That, in my opinion, tells you everything you needed to know. And then now everything has a certain place. It's on a certain hook. Everything is in exact order. My coaches say I'm a little OCD. Everything from our equipment room to our weight room, our racks are going to be, in the center of the room. We measured, they're equal distance apart, they're straight lined. All these little things, everything matters to us. But it does show a big difference when you walk in. The picture on the left, all right, now that was the extreme, but also kind of what we do now on the right. Iowa State does a good thing. We haven't put this up, but when you walk in their building, you see their cycling code of conduct. It's basically saying please, thank you, being respectful, all these kind of things. These are behaviors that are going to show people outside your building what kind of culture do you have. This picture on the right was our first volunteer effort that we did when I first got here. I got hired April 1st last year, and at the end of April, we were volunteering at the Cornbread Festival in the town next door. One of the first volunteer things we've done since I've been here, and that was a big deal, getting our people out in the community, our kids out in the community, to know they're good kids, and their behavior shapes what people believe of you. Right after that, we were in Southern Living magazine. There was a unfortunate incident when one of our local farmers got stuck in a grain bin. But what we did is we just loaded up our football team and some of our baseball team, and we took them out there and we shoveled corn all day for a whole day, and we saved them a ton of money, thousands and thousands of dollars by saving that corn that would have been wasted. And in fact, that's actually paid off. It was a great experience for us, great publicity for us, but that's not why we did it. It actually made me a little uncomfortable how much publicity we got from it. But it was awesome to change the behavior and the personality or perception of what our kids are, and to get them out there. And then now those same farmers are huge supporters of ours and doing an awesome fundraiser for us this year. And that's just changed everything and changed a ton of the perception on what people thought about us by taking them to do those things. So now we're always looking for opportunities to take our kids out and help our community. All right, now we're getting into artifacts. So this is kind of my favorite part. Artifacts, to me, it goes back to branding. I'm kind of a branding guy, and we try to brand ourselves as the swaggiest of the swaggy, the coolest of the cool, and hopefully that works for teenagers. Remember, now we're doing it for them. It might seem lame to someone in their 30s or 40s, but if a 17-year-old thinks it's cool, then we're definitely going to look into it. The first thing is, obviously, if you can do field house renovations to your locker room. This was a school in Nashville with a bunch of money. So we were able to do some really cool things. And I think we spent $75,000 on a locker room renovation there when I was there. But it doesn't always have to be that way. At the school we're at now, we don't really have a lot of money like that. And, so we've had to be creative. Vinyl wraps are a huge thing you can do for your program. If you design them yourself, I designed these myself on Photoshop. It saved us $100 an hour. So we designed it actually the size of the door and the size of the wall. And then all it is for this company, I believe it's $10 a square foot to actually print it and get it hung. That changes that's so much better than paint, in my opinion. It changes everything you're doing. You can kind of see the before and after. And so now when you're going back to the culture stuff, if you show up to the program, you see, the door before and what the locker room looked like before, and then what it looks like now. And that can change, the way everybody thinks about you, and it changes the way your kids think. I mean, our kids take good care of their stuff now, which they haven't done that in the past because they're proud of what they have. Our situation, we have some kids that the football field house might be the nicest thing that they have in their lives, and I want to make it the nicest thing they have for 4 years. And that's kind of our goal. Everything you see other than the vinyl wrap was donated and built by hand, and put in there. We put ping pong tables, and we just got a little pop-a-shot basketball hoop. And the ping pong tables has been a source of debate with the old school people, but honestly, it gets some competition going, and the kids love it. And for your equipment guy, it's actually a great table to set out jerseys and uniforms. And so I've done that now at the last 3 schools, and that's been a huge hit with the kids. And so we love the ping pong tables. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I went and visited Georgia Tech, who is, in my opinion, doing one of the best jobs with culture stuff. And I noticed, well, they just have, pieces of paper laminated and hung up on the walls. You don't have to have a big vinyl wrap. Just do this and put stuff out there. And so now we started printing all the graphics and, put them on the walls and put them in front of toilets and remind them, to drink enough water. And, we're putting this stuff all over the place. We repainted everything with 120 gallons of paint. So now we've got to get more stuff on the walls. But if Georgia Tech can just print stuff and laminate it, and it's good enough for them, then it's going to be good enough for our high school. And you don't have to go overboard the way I do sometimes with the vinyl and all that stuff. This is an awesome book, Brands Win Championships. This is really interesting to me because it talks about how everything matters. Your perception is your reality, and what people, think about you on the outside actually is their reality to them. Your program is a brand, and you are a brand manager, and traditions are very important. So down here at the bottom, it kind of shows a feedback loop to where you've got your perception, which this is more college related to leads to recruiting. Teenagers and stuff, they pick schools based on their perception of that school. And if you get better players, you win more. If you win more, you get more money, which you can do more things to grow your perception. It all works together. So everything is a big deal. Everything about the logo you use, the colors you focus on, your jerseys, your uniforms, we do about chrome everything. We've picked all that stuff on purpose, not just because it's cool or it's trendy or whatever. It just kind of goes with what our brand is and what we're trying to sell to teenagers. So every single thing, about whether you're, we're black and white traditionally. We were one of the only varsity programs here that didn't use the red. And so we're bringing the red back, which has never really been done in our 31 years. And so we're doing that on purpose. Everything we do is kind of done on purpose, and every little detail matters when it comes to building your brand. When it comes to branding cultures, these are some examples, in my opinion, of people that have done great jobs in the past. I mean, if you think of the Jimmy Johnson Miami teams, they definitely had their own culture, and they showcased their brand. I mean, Oregon under Chip Kelly obviously did. Snoop Dogg and all the celebrities in LA during USC during their heyday. That's when Coach Kiffin was there. And so he brought a lot of those ideas to us at Tennessee in our year together. I still remember him sending out letters to every celebrity in the state of Tennessee to try to get them on our sideline. And that really impacted me a lot back then, because I'm like, why was the head football coach at Tennessee sending letters to Tim McGraw and all these people in Nashville? And then you understand it's about building this brand based around their culture. In my opinion right now, PJ Fleck in Minnesota does an unbelievable job, as well as Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. I mean, they do things that are different. Will Healy at Charlotte is another one that I recommend. I mean, you're talking about people that are now changing the way football is taught to try to relate to teenagers. And the old school way is kind of going away with those guys, and there's nothing wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with the old school way. Virginia Tech made a living off the lunch pail philosophy and Bud Foster in defense and special teams, and so there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're on the new end, the new style, new edge of this culture stuff. But just because you're an old school guy, that doesn't mean that's wrong. You just need to brand that, and Iowa and Penn State and Michigan and all them teams have done a great job and won a lot of games with an old school philosophy also. So there's no right or wrong way. It's just you need to think about it specifically to branding your culture for the whole perception is reality. So for us, here's what we do. We don't wear coaches polos. We never will. It's done on purpose. It's not because we're trying to be Cliff Kingsbury or cool or that kind of deal. But we want teenagers on our team and on the other team to look over and say, those guys look differently. They look different. Their coaches, they wear chrome T-shirts. Their coaches do this. I mean, the whole thing just appears different to a teenager on the other team and your team and in the stands and everywhere else. Our strength coach at a previous school cut off his sleeves of his polo. It seems hokey and whatever to the outside, but our teenagers absolutely loved it. It was freezing cold that game when he did it. And it was a huge hit, and he's doing the stretch lines, and he looks ridiculous. I'm sure you guys have seen the Northwestern strength coach on Twitter, and a lot of people are going to hate on it. But, I mean, if it gets teenagers going, then that's what we're going to do. Continue with the branding. We're hurry up, no huddle, spread offense. We want to go as fast as we can, kind of like Oregon used to. We want to snap the ball as many times as we can in a game. At Ravenwood, we call ourselves Raptor Fast. We branded our signal hiders. Oregon did the big sheets where you could hide your signals from the film and from opposing coaches. And so we recreated those, and kids actually, these were current players, took the time to make the signal sheets and put our brand on the back of it. And it's also free advertising if you wanted to do that. We wrapped the equipment trailer. Raptor Fast became a thing, and they're still using it today, and it became everywhere. The uniforms and stuff is all picked on purpose. This year we moved to chrome spears and chrome, tomahawk decals. We chrome everything out because that's what the teenagers like, and so that's what we're going to do. This year we got Adidas practice jerseys down here in the bottom. Before I arrived, we kind of went out to practice like the longest yard style with no practice jerseys on, just shoulder pads flapping and beating on each other. And there was nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it does give a different appearance to the outside world. And our kids are very prideful of the fact that they wear the same practice jerseys as Mississippi State or some of the other Adidas schools in college. And it gives a different appearance, and everybody matches, and I like that kind of stuff. Everything we do is earned, though. If you're going to get, a certain kind of shirt or a certain kind of whatever, you're going to earn it. Our jersey numbers are earned, so they're started from scratch, and every single kid is going to have to sit down with me and tell me why they want to have a certain jersey number. They're not going to get it just because they're seniors. They're not going to get it for any reason. They are going to earn that jersey number. And if they got it last year, that doesn't mean they get it next year. It's going to be, if they're working hard and they do everything they're supposed to do, they're going to get the number they want. And we're going to, jersey numbers are a huge deal to teenagers. And so we're going to treat it like a big deal, but they're also going to earn it and deserve to wear that number. We play music absolutely everywhere. We created the swag cart a couple years ago. It was 2 speakers on the back of a gator. That's the cart now on the right. That we take it out to practice. We play it in the weight room. We take it on road games in the locker rooms. We take it on the field, in pregame. We take it absolutely everywhere. We play music at every part of our program. There's studies that show that music helps improve weight room numbers, and so that's what we're going to do. Plus our kids like it, so they absolutely love it, and I like it too, and it makes practice a lot better and more fun. And we keep our practice clock on the speakers, and so we can't go anywhere without those. We had a team DJ the past couple schools I've been at. The DJ on the left, DJ Reggie Reg up in Brentwood, he's the assistant principal at Ravenwood High School, so that was really cool for him to be able to do it. We've got a new team DJ now, who's the dad of one of our players, one of our freshman rising sophomore kids. So we actually DJ the games. We DJ the lift-a-thon. We've got a DJ on call for all kinds of different stuff. It's definitely new and different and cool, and the teenagers love it. The band parents hated it at the games last year, so we did have a couple of issues with them. But the actual band students and the our current students and our current players and all the teenagers liked it. And so that's something you need to weigh with, who are you doing all this for? Everything we do, it goes back to doing it for the teenagers. We have ClubDub after wins. Charlotte and Coach Healy got on ESPN, and it was a big deal for after they win. He put on the mascot head and got shirtless, for I think they were going to their first bowl game in school history. And, wins are a big deal, and they're going to remember this stuff forever. Football's moments, memories, and relationships. And so whether we win, one game or we win all the games, we're going to make every win a big deal. I've been guilty in the past of winning by 30 or 40 points and still being upset because we did not play the best we could do. And so I'm trying to make a bigger emphasis on wins, regardless of how it happened. And as long as you win, we're going to make a big deal, and the kids are going to love it. And so we've got ClubDub in the locker room, and we've got the laser lights and all that going this year. And that's going to be an awesome deal. In the past, we've had a high school game day show, kind of like College Game Day. That's been a huge deal, and that obviously shows a big brand and culture. And this was for a rival game up there with graphics and game day, and put it on YouTube. And you're really just kind of limited by the resources you have. At a big school, you can do all kinds of awesome stuff, and at a smaller school, you got to tone it down a little bit because of money and resources and help. But I mean, if you go and look at the high school game day from Williamson County Schools, I mean, this is an unbelievable deal, and you see kind of what the moments and memories that you're going to create with your kids by doing this kind of stuff. Right now, we created a weekly head coaches show. We do it at a different local restaurant. It was on Thursday nights every week last year. We put on a different senior every single time. It helps those businesses because we're bringing in, the kids and the team and their parents to come eat at the restaurant. It gets them free advertising. They are sponsors of ours, but I mean, it does get them more advertising. We created we just do it ourselves. And then we get some help from the local news and up the road, and they help us a lot. And, it's an awesome deal, and the kids really like it. I mean, they get nervous and they don't do a great job on the radio or on TV, but this is stuff they're going to remember that they've never done before. We do a really good job with daily themes. I stole this from Coach Kiffin, to where we had Tell the Truth Sunday, Competition Monday, Turnover Tuesday, and all the rest of the days during game week. We practice a little differently, to where we bring them in on Sunday and watch film. We go full pads on Monday. We go helmets and shorts on Tuesday, and then shells on Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday's not a walkthrough. It's a full practice for us. It's about an hour long. And then we have game day. We do the same thing with music. We got Metal Monday, Trap Tuesday, White Boy Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Freedom Friday, where we play a bunch of Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner to start, and a bunch of American Toby Keith and that kind of stuff. We also had a 1776 lift in the past, July 4th, everybody dress up, an American flag stuff, 1,000 reps challenge, Arm Farm Friday. The Keep It 100 lift is 100 reps of different exercises. The rivals lift is a big deal. You get to call out your rival. So if you're fighting with a kid over a position, you get to call out however you want. You can call him out, and that I get to go against him. And it's basically, we're doing pull-ups until one of us stops. At some point, somebody's going to stop. And we've done that this year, and that was a huge success. We had guys push themselves way harder than we ever thought they would. Our coaches like to lift with our players. In the past, I kind of thought this was a little hokey, or it was some sort of ego thing by the coaches. But we started this last year, and I noticed a huge difference in our kids. If they can see you struggle and go through pain, they really buy in more. They try harder in front of you. They like you being around. I've noticed if the head coach or the assistants can be a little more vulnerable with the kids, they actually open up even more, and they really respect that. And so that's been a big deal. We don't do it every time, but we do it a lot. I do like to do the same lifts that the players are going to do. So if we do design something that's a little absurd, we might catch it before they do it. We do a lot of weight room finishers. So we'll do, that goes back to the discipline piece. We'll do jumping jacks, count to 10, but leave out 7 and 8. And so they have to count to 10 doing jumping jacks while they're tired, leave out 7 and 8. They always screw it up the first couple times. I stole this from Coach Lou at Georgia Tech this year, who does an awesome job with their strength and conditioning stuff. There's all the Chief Wars games I talked about earlier, capture the flag, relay races, dodgeball, all that kind of stuff. This stuff is really fun. And so if you're going to make the weight room fun and you're going to make game weeks fun, practice fun, then you're changing everything. I mean, because honestly, let's go back to remember when we were playing, the football practice was not the most fun thing in the world. And if you can make this stuff fun for these kids, I mean, it just changes everything and makes kids want to come out and play. You're going to increase your numbers, you're going to increase your fun, and they're going to be wanting to play out. December, that was the thing we did the whole month of December. We deadlifted every single day. We made a t-shirt for the guys that made it. If I had a ton of money, I'd make more t-shirts for all this other kind of stuff too. We create a website. This is currently under construction. I've done it at other places. This helps go back to your brand, trying to sell your culture for outside people that are above the water. The first thing they're going to do is Google it, and, you want to present something that's going to be exciting and cool for them to see. We make a ton of social media graphics. We use green screens. We had a broadcasting studio at one school. The green screen on the far left, that's about $120 off Amazon. And so that's how you get the cool graphics, clip the kids out and put them on the graphics. We make about 3 or 4 graphics a week per game for each game. We do a game day graphic, a score. We do teachers of the week, some other stuff. We put our sponsors in there. We brand our different sides of the ball. Back when I was a coordinator, our defense was hashtag Sack City. Our offense was, hashtag Raptor Fast. We're putting that stuff on social media. It makes it cool. It makes kids want to play offense or defense or play for you. If you're a coordinator, try to brand your side of the ball. If you're a position coach, try to brand your position. The Wild Dogs, I know, is the D-line at Penn State. And they make a big thing about it. And so that's really cool for the kids, and kids love that stuff. Here's some other kind of stuff we've done, so there's the score graphic that we put out. You just clip a picture from the local paper. We're always kind of putting out propaganda, to just get our brand out there. And you noticed at MA, we really tried to increase the yellow a little bit while we were there. And that gets a little brighter attention when it's scrolling through your Twitter feed. We had a teacher of the week. So a kid would go and pick a teacher each week, and that teacher would come out to practice and actually watch that week or that day of practice. And you'll be surprised how many teachers would say, "Oh, I didn't know you guys were this organized. I didn't know you guys were this serious." They thought it was just kind of a hobby or something else. And especially if you have a teacher that is, in your opinion, kind of not, I guess, targeting students or a little harder on football players, make them the teacher of the week, get them to come to practice, hang out with the coaches, see what kind of, come on a Sunday, come on a Monday or Tuesday practice and see what you go through. And then you'll see they come around a little bit. The scout team players of the week has been a big deal. Never forget those kids that are the down the line kids, the JV kids. If you can put those guys out there publicly, that's a huge deal for their confidence, and it keeps them playing. Our goal is to never have a freshman or a sophomore that never actually got in the game hardly. I don't want them to quit football just because they didn't play. So you have to keep them interested and keep promoting them. We also do a big schedule and posters and, that kind of stuff. This is important to us, coach participation with students. So I've noticed students a lot of times nowadays, they're too cool to dress up for homecoming, or they're too cool to dress up for, whatever situation. Well, if the head coach is going to put on camo or jorts that are barely, barely there and get on the hayride with you. I'm in this group somewhere, and all of our coaches are. If we're going to put on the jorts and the cowboy boots, then it makes it, I guess, okay for the big tough football kid to put his ego aside and wear something funny for the day. It makes it cool for those. And if the football team is participating in homecoming and all these other events and pep rallies and actually doing the competitions and getting involved with the school spirit, then it makes it cool for the rest of the students. Your football team runs the school. If they're into school spirit and they're into this kind of stuff, it's going to run it for the rest of the students, and it's going to change the entire culture and perception of your school. Down here at the bottom, we bring out every single student, parent, everybody out the stands that wants to come after the game to hear the post-game speech. that's really important to us, to where, they get to see the raw emotion of a win or a loss after the game, and they get to hear what you say, because it is important to them. They might not remember it, but they understand, if it's we had 3 1-point losses last year. And they probably don't remember what I say, but the fact that the parents and everybody can hear what you're saying, it's a big deal, because we're one big family, and we're going to grieve, and we're going to be or we'll be really excited as a family, regardless of how the outcome comes. Recruiting is a big deal in our culture. There's a place for every player to go. I coached NAIA ball, coached D2 ball. You'd be surprised the kids who get on to some of those teams. Now, a lot of times they have to pay, and it might not be the level that they thought that they would originally go to, but they can go somewhere. And it is the coach's jobs to help the players get evaluated, recruited, and signed. A lot of coaches don't think that it's their job to help your students get out there, but the students cannot do it on their own. The parents can't do it on their own. We do not advertise recruiting services whatsoever. No player in our program will ever need to use a recruiting service. We're not big fans of those. I mean, we're going to help and do everything we can do. Our coaches will drive them to colleges, drive them to camps. And what it does is it grows your brand, because it goes back to, if your kids are signing college scholarships, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are really looking into now. I do think that's overdone, and people are kind of forgetting the reason for high school football and kind of getting more into, I want my kid to play college ball. But it's kind of a necessary evil, but you should want your kids to go play somewhere. I mean, I'm just as proud for a kid to sign and go play NAIA ball as I am to go play SEC ball. I don't care what it looks like, because I know that kid's happy. The fact that they get a chance. I mean, only 3% usually is the national average for players that get to play in college. And if more from your program get to go out, then it just looks better for you and looks better for your program. And it helps those kids, and it's awesome. I mean, there's nothing better than signing day. So we make signing day a huge deal, and it's really, really neat. We put on a women's clinic. We do kids camp, which isn't on here, but our women's clinic's a huge hit. I got this from one of my good friends, Coach Berryman. Basically what we do is we invite, all the moms and the local ladies in town. We make them a t-shirt. We call it the Heels to Helmets. We do the photo shoots. We put them through the same kids camp stuff that we put the little kids through. So they go through individual drills, they go through dummies and step overs, and we play chief ball, which is like ultimate Frisbee with a football. And they take pictures, and they absolutely loved it. So this is a couple of our, we got grandmothers coming through this thing, and they had a great time, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. And it's been a big deal everywhere we've been. And it's a huge hit, but it gets people who don't necessarily are around your program every day, that are above the water. It gets them inside to see kind of what you're about, what your coach is about. You teach them a little football, and they get really excited. So you want to do this right before the season. So we do this about, right in August before the year. We had a cow splat last year. It's actually a complete disaster. It's cow bingo, to where, you bring the cow out on the field and you grid off different lines, and basically you place bets on where the cow is going to go. Unfortunately, it hit the very first square as it came out this past year, and wasted a lot of time and all of that. And it took about 5 seconds for the cow to splat, and our O-line coach split the pot with somebody, and so that's not really what we wanted, but it got people talking. We had everything from on that field, from women to bovine, is what my field guy said. So we had a little bit of everything out there, and it gets people talking. It was funny, and we're going to decide if we're going to keep doing that. We do yoga and meditation. So yoga is a big deal. We do it to increase our flexibility, and we've put it out there, and next thing you know, a bunch of teams are starting to do some yoga, and our kids really like it. They have to take it seriously. We don't mess around with this stuff. It does help a lot. The meditation, as hokey as it is, we did it a couple schools ago, and man, I think it really helped. It helped calm their nerves, and whatever we're going to do that and make them better, that's what we're going to do. We're really into sideline props. I think you can see the turnover belt. We've done a hammer for the kid that hits the hardest. He gets to carry the hammer. We've done the turnover chain in the past. I know this is kind of getting overused a little bit, but you got to remember, we don't let the kids necessarily do anything to increase their ego. We don't let them wear any ridiculous stuff. We're wearing team colors. We're not wearing neon or anything like that. But the teenagers still do like a little bit of individualism. So if they make a big play and they earn it, then we let them have their little individual moment with their belt or their chain or their hammer or whatever. The kids really like it. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the sideline props, but it goes back to what they like. And so, you know, that's what we're going to do. The last thing is we do things a little differently. You know, we're very new school, and that brings to a lot of haters. You know, the old school coaches I've dealt with, the very successful coach that was right before me and his former players, they're not fans of ping pong tables, and they're not fans of all the swag and the gear and the music. And, you know, the opposing coaches and teams don't like what we're doing and our social media presence. And, you know, a lot of people will think, well, this culture is gimmicky or hokey, or, you know, it's not real, or it's fake, or a used car salesman, blah, blah, blah. I've heard a little bit of everything. If you're trying to do things differently, you're going to attract haters. If you're successful, you're going to attract haters. You got to remember, I'm not doing it for my coaching buddies that are, you know, across the road or downtown or, you know, somewhere else, and what they think about our program. That's not why we do this stuff. I don't do it for, you know, a bunch of parents necessarily. I don't do it for anybody but the kids that are in this program. You know, and we want to make their moments, memories, and relationships something they're going to remember forever. We want to make sure they're talking about, you know, what we've done the rest of their lives. You know, we're going to do things differently, and it's going to be cool and fun for them and get more kids out. Everywhere we've been, we've increased the numbers the following year to get kids to come out and play football. But it does, you know, you just better get ready, because when you decide to do things differently, you know, they're going to come out of the woodwork, and, you know, you just got to stick to your guns and what you believe in. And, you know, don't change your culture or what you think is important, you know, for short-term victories. You know, don't fight every battle, but at the same time, like, you know, stick to your guns on what you believe in and what's fun for you. And high school football in general, I think, has lost a little bit of the fun. You know, you got people out there like Bud Kilmer and Varsity Blues and that kind of stuff. And, you know, we're trying to bring fun back to high school football. It's still serious. And I understand that, you know, my living is made based on teenagers and high school kids, and, you know, whether we win and lose, but at the same time, we're going to enjoy this thing. And even if we have a down year, that, you know, we're still going to have so much fun, make so many memories, that it's going to make this whole thing worth it. And it kind of takes the seriousness off of those results if you can enjoy the day-to-day. You only play 10 games a year. You know, you only get, in the regular season, 10 to 15. So you're getting 10 to 15 days. That's your reward for all the work. But if you don't enjoy the Monday through Thursday, you know, in January, February, and March, and all these other days that you're together, and you don't make those days fun, then, you know, what are you doing? Because that's the majority of what you're doing, of the time you're spending. So that's what's important to us. And, you know, just know you're going to get a little bit of that. The last thing, this should have been earlier. We do have the pit of misery, which is, you know, the kids that don't clean and that kind of stuff. You know, we had late squad before. Now it's called the pit of misery. The coaches choose the music. We got music everywhere. So we're playing bluegrass and that kind of stuff they hate while they're doing their different stuff. Remember, if you bring pain, it does equal to pride. Ego's the enemy. I'm not sure, Doug, how much time I got, but I'm going to try to.
You're good. Keep rolling.
Okay. So again, everything's ego is the enemy. All right. So we don't assign captains until the playoffs. Everyone cleans. So we clean by class in the fall. So freshmen are on they clean the field in the fall. Sophomores clean they take out the trash. Juniors clean the locker room. Seniors clean the weight room. In the spring, we assign it alphabetically by name. So we'll assign one kid the field, one kid the trash, one kid the locker room, one kid the bathroom. The reason we do that, okay, is there's no senior entitlement. The seniors are going to clean just as much as the freshmen are. We assign it alphabetically in the spring because if I say, all right, Doug, you are cleaning the bathroom, okay, and then you are not a great teammate, all right, or you're not a good person to be around, and you ask for help, nobody's going to help you. Okay. But if you help other people in the past, you're a good dude, you're a good teammate, and you ask for help and it gets done, it's going to be a much easier job on you. So it kind of enforces a leadership role on these kids, to where, you know, we try to make it to where, you know, you're going to do the job and keep it clean and get some help in that regard. The coaches perform the dirty work. So I learned this from Coach Fan at Notre Dame. You know, the head coach should not be afraid to take out the trash, should not be afraid to shovel corn or do any of that kind of stuff. If you set an example where, you know, you don't have a big ego and you'll go do any of the dirty work, all the kids will follow suit. We don't give end of the year individual awards. I've always thought that's silly that you're preaching team the entire season, and at the end of the year you're going to give out MVP or one of these other awards. And we always wear team colors, so we don't wear any neon or any of that kind of stuff. We don't go crazy with the eye black or, you know, any of that kind of deal. That's a big look at me do. We do create a family atmosphere. A lot of people say this, but we really believe it. We've got multiple 4-year-olds on our coaching staff's kids. We've got Disney Channel up in the field house all the time. My 4-year-old decided to bring cupcakes for the whole team on Valentine's Day. We bring the kids over to the house to eat all the time. You know, it really is a family atmosphere, and that's what we're going for, and that's what our culture is and what we believe in, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what gets kids, especially in our type area, depending on their home life. This really is a family, and that's what gets them out for football. Remember, everything you do is to recruit, reach, and influence the 13 to 18-year-olds, and just keep that in mind. And regardless of what anybody else says or what other people believe, if you just find what you believe in, and you try to reach these kids by stuff they like. You know, I absolutely do not like the rapper NBA Youngboy. But our kids, apparently he's the hottest thing out. And so that's what we're playing in the weight room. And we have debates about whether he's actually any good or not. And apparently it's blasphemy for me to say that. But the fact that I even know who it is and know that we're listening to it, we're honestly trying, to reach them by listening to their music and finding what's cool. You know, I'm not going to make a TikTok because I'm a grown man. I ain't doing that. But at the same time, I understand what it is. You know, we keep up with our kids on Snapchat and other stuff. And, you know, we're just around, and when we talk about them, or we talk about things with them, you know, that's very personal, and they're able to open up to us because we relate to them, you know, even though the age gap is so wide or whatever. The fact that we can, you know, we try to make an effort to stay into this stuff. They'll open up about things, and you can really influence them in the way you know they should go. Because you're willing to do this kind of stuff, in my opinion. So it's a little different, but, you know, it's worked out really well for us, and, you know, we're excited moving forward.
Thanks, Chandler. I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
You know, you still rolling?
Oh, no, I think that was the last one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so a couple books, man. So if you want this presentation, get it. And, you know, I read a lot of books, and, you know, this is stuff you guys need to look into. If you look into all these leadership books and all these different lessons, you'll see a lot of the same philosophies being preached. And so it's not, you know, it's not just coming from me. All my stuff is just stolen from other people. And it's really interesting to see the same thing come up in all these different books on leadership and culture and different teams and programs, and it's all real neat. All right, now we're good.
All right, man. Pulled the old switcheroo on me.
Yeah. One of my slides got out of order, so that's what threw me off.
I got you. All right. You know, going back to your core values, are you? Yeah. You know, I'm always fascinated because I think anytime we interview for a job, you got an idea of what a successful program should look like. So you've got that kind of in your head. But, you know, this past offseason, I talked to a coach that was very adamant that, you know, players should come up with that so they're more invested. And I think that makes sense. And then there's, you know, another train of thought that, you know, I was talking to Randy Jackson in Texas, and he kind of steers kids towards what he wants the core values to be.
There you go. Okay. So
where do you stand on that?
Yeah. So you kind of hit that right. So when I interview for the job, you know, I've got my thing. It's a, you know, 300-page head coaching manual and the whole deal, and what my core values as a coach are. But what works at one school, what worked at Ravenwood in Nashville is not necessarily going to work at North Jackson. And when it goes back to, like the inherent beliefs of each program, the two cultures and communities they're very, very different. So what their parents believe here are going to be completely different than what they believe there. So I have core values as a coach that I believe in, the discipline and toughness piece that can't change in football, but the kids have to understand that. So I didn't just say, okay, hey, we're going to be disciplined and we're going to be tough. I led a discussion that said, well, okay, guys, how do you win football games? Last year, I think we led the state of Alabama in personal fouls my first year here. And, that got us beat. And so we talked about that and they said, well, coach, we got to be more disciplined. Okay, well, let's make that a core value. We have a tradition here. This is the 6th highest winning percentage school in the history of Alabama, of being some of the toughest dudes around. And it's been that way long before I got here, and it's going to be that way long after I leave. So toughness is an inherent trait in this town, and it better be in your football program because the entire town feels that way. I mean, people walk around here and say this is the home of the original ass whipping. So it's a tough area, so if you're not a tough team, you can be a spread offense, but you can still be a tough team. And that's what we're going to do. A family atmosphere, we talked about that. We believe in that. Pride is a big deal. That came from, the way that the field house and everything was treated beforehand, and then the way we want it to be treated moving in the future. Our principal, it's his first year this year, but his father was the principal here for a long time, and he used to give speeches on pride all the time, and that's really known in our community. So of course, pride had to be one of our core values. And then the last thing was leadership, and that's kind of the off the field piece, and that's really what I try to teach with our culture is we want to produce leaders. But so all this stuff came, okay, because I had a general idea of what I wanted it to be. You sit them down and you lead the discussion, and they believe they came up with all of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it is steered that way, but I'm not going to let them come up with, swagginess and put that as a core value. But at the same time, Doug, like if you don't reinforce this stuff every year, I worked at a school that we had all the cool quotes on the wall, but the coaches never said those quotes. They never talked about them. They never put them on shirts or anything. So whatever we decide on, okay, if it's going to be disciplined, we're going to preach on it in the summer. We're going to put it on the wall. We're going to make a T-shirt like this. This here is made with a vinyl cutter from my wife in a vinyl heat press. You don't have to spend a lot of money, but we're going to reinforce whatever those values are, whether it's our brand or our core values or whatever, throughout the building, on the uniforms, on the shirts. I mean, it's going to be everywhere. So we're reinforcing what they came up with, or they think they came up with.
Right. Yep. Great stuff. Appreciate your time, Chandler.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.